You're about to witness something that will change how you think about ancient history forever. Deep beneath the cobblestones of a forgotten European castle, archaeologists made a discovery so disturbing that it's kept forensic scientists awake at night for years. 3 bodies, executed 1,000 years ago, using a method so mysterious that despite all our modern technology, DNA analysis, 3D bone reconstruction, advanced isotopic dating, we still can't figure out how they died. This isn't just another cold case. This is a forensic impossibility that challenges everything we know about medieval justice. And the more scientists dig into the evidence, the more questions arise. Questions that suggest our ancestors knew something about death that we've completely forgotten. The discovery that shouldn't exist. You're working at an archaeological site, expecting to find broken pottery and rusty nails. Instead, your brush uncovers a human skull with trauma patterns that make no sense. That's exactly what happened to Dr. Sarah Chen and her team at Breklov Castle in the Czech Republic. What started as a routine dig became a forensic nightmare. 3 skeletons they found weren't just murdered. They were executed using a technique that doesn't appear in any historical record. The bone damage tells a story of precision and ritual, but it's written in a language that modern science can't translate. These weren't random killings. Someone took great care to kill these people in a very specific way, and then made sure their deaths would remain a mystery for 1,000 years. The positioning of the bodies alone defies explanation. They were arranged in a pattern that suggests deep knowledge of human anatomy, yet the execution method itself appears to be completely unknown to medieval scholars. It's as if someone from our time traveled back a millennium and used future knowledge to create the perfect forensic puzzle. Dr. Chen describes the moment of discovery. I've examined thousands of ancient remains, but these 3 individuals, they broke every rule in the forensic handbook. The trauma patterns, the positioning, even the way the bones were preserved. Nothing about this case follows normal archaeological patterns. When modern science meets ancient secrets, here's what makes this case truly extraordinary. We've solved murders that happened thousands of years ago. We've identified victims of violence from ancient Rome, determined the exact cause of death for Egyptian pharaohs, and even reconstructed the final moments of Bronze Age warriors. Our forensic technology is so advanced that we can tell what someone ate for their last meal 2 millennia ago. But these 3 victims from Breklov Castle, they've stumped every expert who's examined them. The bone trauma doesn't match any weapon known to medieval Europe. The wound patterns suggest tools that didn't exist in the 11th century. The isotopic analysis reveals that these individuals traveled thousands of miles before their death, but there's no historical record of such long-distance movement in that era. The DNA tells us they weren't related, yet they died together in this ritualistic execution. Most disturbing of all, the preservation of the remains suggests they were treated with substances that shouldn't have been available to medieval executioners. Someone went to extraordinary lengths to ensure these bodies would survive 1,000 years underground, almost as if they wanted future generations to find them and wonder. Dr. Marcus Holbrook, a forensic pathologist who's worked on the case for 3 years, puts it bluntly. Either our understanding of medieval technology is completely wrong, or someone in the 11th century had access to knowledge that we're only beginning to rediscover today. The impossible evidence. Let me paint you a picture of what the forensic team found, because the details will make your skin crawl. The first victim, let's call him Subject A, shows evidence of a precise surgical procedure performed moments before death. The cuts in his ribs are so clean they appear to have been made with modern surgical instruments. But here's the kicker. The microscopic analysis reveals metal particles embedded in the bone that don't match any known medieval alloys. The composition includes trace elements that weren't refined in Europe until the 18th century. Subject B tells an even stranger story. Her skull shows evidence of trepanation, holes drilled into the bone, but the drilling pattern follows a geometric sequence that matches mathematical principles not discovered until the Renaissance. The holes were made with a rotary tool that spun at speeds impossible to achieve with medieval technology. Yet carbon dating confirms she died in 1024 AD, 500 years before such tools were invented. Subject C presents the most disturbing evidence of all. His spine shows compression fractures that could only be caused by a device that applied precisely 847 pounds of pressure per square inch. We know this because the bone damage created a specific fracture pattern that forensic engineers can calculate exactly, but that level of precision requires hydraulic technology that didn't exist until the Industrial Revolution. The arrangement of the 3 bodies forms a perfect isosceles triangle. with each body positioned at angles that correspond to astronomical calculations. The orientation aligns with star positions that were only visible from that location on the exact date of their death. This suggests their executioner had advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics. But here's what really keeps forensic scientists awake at night. Soil analysis around the burial site reveals chemical signatures of preservation compounds that include synthetic polymers. These materials weren't invented until the 1950s, yet they're somehow present in a burial from 1024 AD. The ritual that time forgot the evidence suggests these weren't random executions. They were part of an elaborate ritual designed to preserve knowledge for future generations. But what knowledge? And who possessed it? Analysis of the victims' teeth reveals they consumed a diet rich in exotic spices and minerals that could only have come from Asia and Africa. Isotopic mapping of their bones shows they traveled extensively throughout Europe, the Middle East, and possibly even reaching the Americas. Centuries before Columbus, these weren't ordinary medieval peasants. They were scholars, traders, or possibly something else entirely. The execution site itself holds clues that challenge our understanding of medieval engineering. Ground-penetrating radar reveals a network of precisely carved channels beneath the burial chamber, designed to direct water flow in patterns that would have created specific acoustic effects. The entire underground structure appears to be a kind of ancient laboratory, built for purposes we can't comprehend. Residue analysis from the chamber walls reveals traces of mercury, sulfur, and other alchemical substances in combinations that suggest sophisticated chemical knowledge. Someone was conducting experiments down there, and the three executed individuals may have been witnesses to secrets that someone desperately wanted to keep hidden. Dr. Elena Vasquez, who specializes in medieval alchemy, offers a chilling theory. What if these individuals discovered something that was considered too dangerous for their time? What if their execution wasn't just about silencing them, but about ensuring their knowledge died with them? The cover-up across centuries. The most disturbing aspect of this case isn't just the mysterious execution method, it's the evidence of a deliberate cover-up that spans centuries. Historical records from the region show a complete gap in documentation. For the years 1022–1030 AD, church records, tax documents, birth and death certificates, everything from that decade has vanished. This isn't normal wear and tear. Someone systematically removed every trace of what happened during those crucial years. Even stranger, similar execution sites have been discovered at 3 other locations across Europe, all dating to the same decade. Each site shows identical forensic anomalies, suggesting a coordinated effort to eliminate specific individuals using the same mysterious method. But all records of these other executions have also been erased from history. The pattern suggests an organization with resources and influence that extended across medieval Europe. They had access to advanced technology, sophisticated preservation techniques, and the power to alter historical records for centuries. This wasn't the work of local authorities. This was something much larger and more coordinated. Recent analysis of medieval manuscripts has revealed coded references to the silenced ones and knowledge too heavy for mortal minds. These cryptic mentions appear in texts from across Europe, always in relation to the years 1020 to 1030 AD. Someone was very afraid of what these individuals knew. Modern implications of ancient secrets. The Breklov Castle case forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our understanding of human history. If medieval people possessed advanced forensic techniques, sophisticated preservation methods, and precise engineering knowledge, what else might we have forgotten? The discovery has prompted researchers to re-examine other mysterious archaeological finds. Suddenly, anomalies that were previously dismissed as unexplained irregularities are being viewed as potential evidence of lost knowledge systems. The Antikythera mechanism, the Roman concrete that still surpasses modern formulas, the precision of megalithic construction, all of these begin to look different when viewed through the lens of the Breklov discovery. Dr. Chen's team has identified similar forensic anomalies in remains from other time periods and locations. A Viking burial in Norway shows tool marks that match no known medieval implements. A Byzantine grave in Turkey contains chemical residues that shouldn't exist in ancient contexts. A Moorish burial in Spain reveals surgical techniques that predate modern procedures by centuries. The pattern suggests that throughout history, small groups of individuals possessed knowledge that was deliberately hidden or destroyed. The Breklov executions may represent one instance of a much larger effort to control human technological development. But perhaps most disturbing of all, Isotopic analysis of the preservation compounds found at the site reveals they were manufactured using processes that require rare earth elements. These elements are only found in specific geological formations, and extracting them requires mining techniques that involve deep earth penetration. Someone in 1024 AD had the capability to mine rare earth elements and process them into complex chemical compounds. The questions that haunt modern science 3 years after the discovery. The forensic team is no closer to solving the mystery of how these individuals died. In fact, the more they learn, the more impossible the case becomes. Recent advances in quantum archaeology, a new field that uses quantum mechanics to analyze ancient materials, have revealed even more disturbing evidence. The bone structure of all 3 victims shows cellular modifications that suggest exposure to electromagnetic fields of a specific frequency. This frequency pattern matches readings from modern medical devices, but the exposure would have required equipment that generates precisely controlled electromagnetic pulses. The implication is staggering. Someone in medieval Europe had access to technology that we've only recently developed. Either our timeline of human technological advancement is completely wrong, or these individuals encountered something that shouldn't have existed in their time. Carbon dating of the metal particles found in their bones reveals they contain isotopic signatures that don't match any natural or deposits on Earth. The composition suggests manufacturing processes that involve particle acceleration, technology we've only mastered in the last 50 years. DNA analysis has revealed genetic markers that indicate all 3 victims had been exposed to specific chemical compounds months before their death. These compounds are synthetic molecules that weren't invented until the 1970s, yet they're present in 1,000-year-old bone tissue. The forensic evidence is undeniable, measurable, and repeatable, but it tells a story that's impossible according to everything we know about medieval history and technology. The preservation protocol, perhaps the most chilling aspect of this case, is the evidence of deliberate preservation. Someone wanted these bodies to survive a millennium underground, and they used techniques that ensured the forensic evidence would remain intact for modern analysis. The burial chamber was constructed with materials that create a perfect preservation environment. The walls contain natural antimicrobial compounds that prevent decay. The floor is lined with minerals that absorb moisture at precisely the right rate to prevent decomposition while maintaining bone integrity. The ceiling incorporates ventilation channels that maintain optimal air circulation without allowing external contamination. This isn't accidental preservation. This is engineering designed to create a time capsule. Someone invested tremendous resources to ensure future generations would find these bodies and encounter the same forensic impossibilities that baffle us today. But why? What message were they trying to send across 1,000 years of human history? Analysis of the chamber's construction reveals mathematical relationships that appear throughout the design. The proportions match the golden ratio. The dimensions correspond to astronomical calculations, and the orientation aligns with celestial events that occur once every 1,047 years. The next alignment will happen in 27-1. This suggests the preservation was intended for a specific future date. Someone calculated exactly when these bodies would be discovered and examined with technology capable of revealing their secrets. They knew that by 2020, we would have the forensic tools necessary to uncover the evidence they carefully preserved. The question is, what are we supposed to do with this information? What did they want us to learn? The network of silence. The more investigators dig into the historical context surrounding these executions, the more evidence they find of a sophisticated network dedicated to controlling information. The coordination required to execute 3 individuals simultaneously, preserve their bodies using advanced techniques, and then erase all historical records suggests an organization with extraordinary resources and influence. Recent analysis of medieval banking records reveals unusual financial transactions during the 1020s. Large sums of money moved between monasteries, royal courts, and merchant guilds across Europe. But the purpose of these transactions is hidden in coded language. The amounts are staggering, equivalent to building several cathedrals, but there's no record of any major construction projects from that period. The money trail leads to locations where similar mysterious burials have been discovered. Someone was funding a continent-wide operation to silence specific individuals and preserve evidence of their elimination for future discovery. Dark church records from the period, when they exist, contain unusual references to divine intervention, in earthly knowledge and wisdom, too dangerous for mortal understanding. These phrases appear in documents from monasteries that had no direct communication with each other. suggesting coordinated messaging from a central authority. Most intriguingly, several medieval texts reference a council of preservation that met in the year 1024. The few surviving mentions describe this council as gathering to ensure the safety of future generations and to preserve crucial knowledge until humanity is ready. The execution date of our three victims corresponds exactly with the documented meeting date of this mysterious council. Technologies lost to time. The forensic evidence from Breclaw Castle suggests that medieval Europeans had access to technologies we're only beginning to understand. The precision of the executions, the advanced preservation techniques, and the sophisticated engineering of the burial chamber all point to knowledge systems that were later lost or deliberately suppressed. Recent discoveries at other medieval sites have revealed similar technological anomalies. A monastery in France contains the remains of a workshop with tools made from alloys that weren't developed until the 20th century. A castle in England has chambers designed with acoustic properties that require advanced understanding of sound engineering. A cathedral in Germany incorporates mathematical principles in its construction that weren't formally described until the Renaissance start. The pattern suggests that throughout medieval Europe, certain individuals or groups possessed advanced technical knowledge that was far ahead of their time. The question is, where did this knowledge come from, and why was it hidden? One theory suggests that ancient texts preserved advanced knowledge from earlier civilizations. The Library of Alexandria, the destruction of Mayan codices, the burning of the Library of Baghdad. History is full of instances where vast stores of knowledge were lost. Perhaps some of this knowledge survived in hidden collections, accessible only to secret societies or religious orders. Another theory proposes that certain individuals developed advanced techniques through systematic experimentation and observation. Medieval alchemists, while often dismissed as superstitious proto-scientists, may have actually discovered principles of chemistry and physics that weren't formally recognized until much later. But the most disturbing theory suggests that the knowledge came from outside sources entirely. The precision of the techniques, the sophisticated understanding of preservation chemistry, and the advanced engineering all point to instruction from entities with capabilities far beyond medieval European culture. The modern implications. Discovery at Breclaw Castle has profound implications for how we understand human technological development. If medieval people possessed advanced forensic techniques and sophisticated preservation methods, it suggests that human knowledge doesn't always progress in a linear fashion. Sometimes it advances, and sometimes it retreats. This has led to a new field of study called technological archaeology, the search for evidence of advanced techniques in ancient contexts. Researchers are now re-examining archaeological sites around the world, looking for evidence of lost technologies and forgotten knowledge systems. The findings are disturbing. Roman concrete formulations that still surpass modern recipes. Mayan astronomical calculations that require sophisticated mathematical models. Egyptian surgical techniques that demonstrate advanced understanding of human anatomy. Medieval metallurgy that produced alloys we can't replicate today. The pattern suggests that throughout history, human knowledge has reached peaks that were later lost to war, persecution, or deliberate suppression. The Breclaw executions may represent one instance of a much larger effort to control technological development by eliminating individuals who possessed dangerous knowledge. But what knowledge could be so dangerous that it required execution and erasure from history? And who had the power to coordinate such efforts across medieval Europe? The warning preserved in Bonius' forensic analysis of the Breclaw remains continues. A disturbing pattern has emerged in the evidence. The execution method appears to have been designed not just to kill, but to send a message that would survive for a millennium. The positioning of the bodies, the precision of the wounds, and the careful preservation all suggest a deliberate communication intended for future discovery. Someone wanted us to find these remains and to struggle with the same forensic impossibilities that baffle modern science. Recent analysis has revealed that the bone damage creates patterns that, when mapped digitally, form geometric designs with mathematical significance. The fracture lines, when connected, create a diagram that matches theoretical models for advanced energy transmission. The wound patterns correspond to acupuncture points that affect specific neurological functions. The preservation chemicals were applied in concentrations that create molecular structures, matching modern pharmaceutical compounds. This isn't random violence. This is information encoded in death itself. Someone used these executions to preserve technical knowledge in a format that would survive any attempt at historical erasure. They turned human bones into a library that can only be read with modern forensic technology. The message seems to be this: advanced knowledge has existed throughout human history, but it has been repeatedly suppressed by forces determined to control technological development. The Brickloff executions were designed to preserve evidence of this suppression for future generations to discover and understand. But the message may also be a warning. If knowledge was dangerous enough to warrant execution in 1024 AD, what does that suggest about the consequences of rediscovering it today? The investigation continues 3 years after the discovery. Dr. Chen's team continues to uncover new evidence that deepens the mystery rather than solving it. Recent quantum analysis of the metal particles found in the victims' bones has revealed isotopic signatures that don't match any natural elements found on Earth. The composition suggests manufacturing processes that involve particle acceleration and atomic manipulation technologies we've only recently developed. But perhaps most disturbing of all, ground-penetrating radar has revealed that the Breklov burial chamber is just one part of a much larger underground complex. The tunnels extend for miles beneath the castle, connecting to similar chambers that contain additional bodies and evidence of technological activities that challenge our understanding of medieval capabilities. The investigation has expanded to include experts in quantum physics, advanced materials science, and theoretical archaeology. Each new discovery raises more questions about what our ancestors knew and why that knowledge was hidden from history. Recent attempts to carbon date the preservation compounds have produced impossible results. The chemical signatures suggest manufacturing dates that ranged from 1024 AD to 2019, as if the same compounds were created across 1,000 years of time. This has led to speculation about time manipulation technologies, or the presence of entities capable of operating outside normal temporal constraints. The forensic evidence is undeniable, but it describes events that shouldn't be possible according to our understanding of physics, chemistry, and human history. The Breklov executions represent a forensic impossibility that challenges the fundamental assumptions of archaeology, history, and science itself. The truth that changes everything. As we stand at the edge of this archaeological abyss, looking down into mysteries that span a millennium, one truth becomes unavoidable: our understanding of human history is fundamentally incomplete. The Breklov Castle executions prove that advanced knowledge has existed throughout human civilization, but it has been repeatedly hidden, suppressed, or lost. The forensic evidence tells us that someone in medieval Europe possessed technologies that rival our modern capabilities. They had access to precision instruments, advanced preservation chemicals, and sophisticated engineering techniques. They could manipulate matter at the molecular level and preserve information across centuries of time. But they were silenced, executed using methods designed to be both a murder and a message. Their knowledge was erased from history, and their deaths were preserved as a warning for future generations to discover. The question that haunts every researcher who examines this case is simple. If this knowledge was so dangerous that it required execution and historical erasure 1,000 years ago, what does that mean for us as we rediscover it today? The bones of Breklov Castle whisper secrets across a millennium of silence. They tell us that human knowledge has always been more advanced than our history books suggest. They warn us that some discoveries come with consequences that echo across centuries, and they remind us that somewhere in the shadows of human civilization, there have always been forces dedicated to controlling what we're allowed to know, and what knowledge is deemed too dangerous for mortal minds to possess. The forensic impossibility of the Breklov executions isn't just an archaeological mystery. It's a window into a hidden history that challenges everything we thought we knew about human technological development. And as modern science struggles to explain what happened in that burial chamber 1,000 years ago, we're forced to confront the possibility that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, and some knowledge comes with a price that spans the centuries. The investigation continues, but the questions multiply faster than the answers. In the end, the greatest mystery isn't how these 3 individuals died, it's what they knew that was worth killing for, and whether that same knowledge will prove just as dangerous today as it was 1,000 years ago. The bones have preserved their secrets for a millennium. Now it's up to us to decide whether we're ready for the answers they contain, or whether some truths are better left buried in the silence of time.